Okay, so today I'm gonna be doing a bit of theorizing, and this time real theorizing. Well, not really, pretty much the same. So, what I'm gonna be doing is I'm going to theorize what I think the possible future is for Asia in Trench Crusade, and from that I will explain my reasoning for each future and explain the possible benefits for this for the actual tabletop, okay? Remember, before we start, like, comment, and subscribe. It'll boost me up in, the algorithm thing. And if you enjoy Trench Crusade content in general, I'm gonna be making a video about Trench Crusade every Tuesday, okay? Let's get started with Mongolia! Okay, so the first thing we know for 100% about Asia in Trench Crusade is that the Mongolian Empire definitely exists, and it's definitely split. So what that means is that the Golden Horde, northwest, the Shang Khans, Central Asia, the Linknent, southwest, and the Yuan dynasty, east, all exist in Trench Crusade's universe. Now, I'm sorry if I butchered any of those. That's my bad. I'm not the best at generally speaking any language, let alone a language I don't understand. So, please forgive me on that. Now, we only know about the Golden Horde. We know about that 100% exists. But if the Golden Horde exists, that must mean everything else exists. So all the Khans exist. Now, obviously, this causes some issues because the Yuan dynasty controls basically all of China, just all of it. The area that we know as China is pretty much completely controlled by the Yuan dynasty. So I see them doing either two things. Just have the Yuan dynasty control China and not getting another faction, or have just another kind of rebellious native Chinese faction that either has great control over some of the area, or just a guerrilla fighting force slitting people's necks in their sleep. Either way, that seems very interesting and could be a great possibility. Now, for the other Khans, I think that they're just gonna be each is their own faction. I think that's the best thing for TC to do. It gives us just straight up 4 new factions, which I don't think anyone would be upset by that. And they could have friendly relationships with each other. Though it would be disappointing if it was just one monolith and just one Mongolian faction only, which I don't think they would do, because we have the Golden Horde. Why can't we have the other Khans? Now, the next place we're going to be checking out is... Well, yes, it would make sense to say that the Yuan dynasty would also control Korea, but I disagree with that idea, especially at the time. I think it would either happen is that Korea would be really close to the Yuan dynasty or completely at war with it, one or the other. The reason I think that is they might be, more leaning towards ally is because that's what they actually happened in history. And Korea was either controlled by the Yuan dynasty or they were just really close with each other. Now, the reason I think they could be at war with each other is because Korea is a peninsula, which means they would be very likely of getting attacked by the heretics and getting taken over by them. Now, for a unit that I'd like to see in Korea, their faction, is a Korean turtle ship. That would be so badass. I could not describe the feeling if they had a Korean turtle ship. Not even just kind of more modernized, more 1920s looking. That would be just the coolest thing ever. That would be so badass. Now, that's pretty much what it is for Korea. That's pretty much it. I don't really have a lot to say about it. Now, this one's much shorter than Mongolia, but the next one is gonna be a bit longer than this one. Now, what I think they're going to do for India is the Mughal Empire. Now, the reason I think they're gonna do that is just the aesthetic of it. It's really cool, and the rule of cool pretty much trumps everything else. But beyond that, if we have the Golden Horde, which the Golden Horde existed after the Crusades, then we probably should also have the Mughal Empire. And beyond the rule of cool, there's plenty of story ideas that they could do with that. For example, how would the Islamic royalty see the Iron Gate Sultanate? Would they see them as friends? Would they see them as enemies? Who knows? As well as that, who would they deal with? How would they deal with the majority Hindu population? Would they try to oppress them because they believe they were worshipping demons? Would they not really care and just send them off to fight demons to help the Iron Gate Sultanate? There's plenty of more cool ideas you could do beyond the religious aspect. For example, a unit you could have is an elephant tank. A tank that looks like an elephant that shoots fire from that weird long thing they have as like a nose. Would that be effective in any way? No. But would that be rad as hell? 100% yes. And as I said it once, I'll say it before, the rule of cool is king in any grimdark setting. Especially this one. Now, up next, we are going back to... Now for China, I did state that they would most likely be controlled by the Yuan dynasty, and I still believe that, but I think it'd be a cool idea of what they should do for, like, the faction fighting against them. It should be, in my opinion, the Ting-Ping Heavenly Kingdom, which, yes, was formed way later than the Crusade, but I'm putting this under the same idea as the Golden Horde exists. There's no reason why they shouldn't exist either. And as well as that, if you want to say that there shouldn't be a faction like that in China, then okay, fine. Instead of them being the Heavenly Kingdom, they can be the Hellish Kingdom. They could be another heretic faction, which would also be cool. Fine, you know what? I would love to see more of them. If we get both, that's even better. A Heavenly Kingdom and a Hellish Kingdom. They'd be extremely cool and also fit the vibe of TC. Now, finally, before we officially leave East Asia, we need to do one more faction. I think most likely Japan will be under complete heretic control. Because they're an island nation, and the island nations would probably just, most all of them would get steamrolled by the heretics because they got bigger boats. And having the biggest boat makes you just win pretty much any fight against an island nation. Now, I do have some pretty good ideas that you could have for Japan. You could have it so that there were still some people who are fighting against the heretics and have like old samurai clinging to old ways. Maybe even a few of them are like Christians and have like Christian samurais or Muslim samurais, which would be pretty cool. And you could have the heretic forces of Japan be more like a 19th century, I guess, like 19th century industrial revolution, which would be a pretty cool thing just off vibes alone. And also it could show the difference between the heretic and faithful factions within Japan. But that's just a personal idea. And as well as that, they could probably also have it where it's like switched and where the faithful are more industrialized and the heretics are more like clinging to old ways, which would be pretty cool because demon samurai is always cool. Now it's finally time to go to our first nation in Southeast Asia, and that is... Now for Vietnam, I see this going one of two ways. One, they get pounded by the heretics and they get taken over, or two, they manage to get enough of a resistance to push them back. Right now I'm going to just assume two, just because that'd be a bit more creative of approach on my part, but most likely it's just going to be one where they just get gobbled up by the heretics. Now, for Vietnam, you can pretty much set them through any dynasty between the Ly dynasty and the later... I messed them up, I switched them, my bad. Between the Ly dynasty and the later Ly dynasty. It could be pretty much set in between any of those times, and it would work well. I'm going to make the assumption that it's the Ly dynasty is the one they're going to use, and based what I think they're going to look like off that. Now, as I said before, and will say again, this is complete speculation on my part. I'm just saying what I think would be a cool idea for them to do. Now, from what I do know about the Ly dynasty, which I will claim is not a lot, but what I do know is that they were Buddhist, and as well as that they had like the head of lions on their warriors, and I think Trench Crusade could probably make that look really cool. They were called Lion Warriors, and just that alone could be a really cool unit. As well as that, we'd also get some factions that were outside of the Abrahamic religions, which could be very interesting to see them play around with. Now for next, I'm gonna get out of the way just right now. You know, it's gonna be the easiest out of all of them. I believe that almost all of West Asia is going to get gobbled up by the heretics. I think they're either going to get taken or they're just going to be absorbed into the Iron Gates alternate, which could also be a possibility, but either way, I think the majority of the region is going to be completely screwed by the heretic region. But hey, maybe I'm wrong, and there are some really cool factions there. That could also be interesting, and from what we can see on the map, like the official map of Trench Crusade, it seems like a lot of West Asia did get put under the control of the Iron Gates alternate. Now, I believe there might be a Ikehate faction in West Asia. I think it's pretty much just gonna be them and the Heretic Legion, though. I think because of the objectively superiority of the Heretic Legions and just anything involving water, I think the Philippines is most likely going to get conquested by the Heretic Legion. But there is a second possible option where they push back against the Heretic Legion and develop their own type of boats. Well, like, not like they didn't have boats, no, but like develop like 19th century ironclads. Now, in my opinion, they'll either most likely have their own original kingdom who's ruling the place, or the kingdom of Toda. I think that if they go down their own original route, I think it's most likely going to be some type of pirate-themed faction, just because, you know, pretty easy to make since they're an island nation, and they have a lot of water, but maybe they'll do something else, who knows. Now, next up, we're gonna do something more interesting, in my opinion, which is... Now, while yes, Indonesia would not have been entirely Muslim like it is today, and even today it's not completely Muslim, I do believe they will most likely have to be Muslim faction simply because it's Muslim today and most people see Indonesia as a Muslim country, and that's what we kind of associate it with. So either it's going to be like the Navy of the Iron Gate Sultanate, or basically it's going to be taken over by the heretics, or maybe it's going to be another pirate theme. Well, not another, or it might be a pirate themed faction, who knows. But I think it's either one of those first two would be like the most likely thing for TC to do. Now, the reason I put all these countries together is because they would all most likely be under the control of the Pagan Empire. Now, the Empire does not have a lot of cores that could be cool to see in Trench Crusade. Maybe they do, but I cannot find them. Again, they also have elephants, so they have the obvious elephant tank, and just honestly, that would be cool. And they do have some really cool aesthetics and some really cool buildings that they could play around with. When they're selling like maps and items that you can put down for maps, and that would be really cool to see. Now obviously, I am not that well educated about Southeast Asian history, or generally Asian history, and if anyone has, like, in the comment section is and understands this empire, I'd love for you to comment that down below and explain what you would think they could do with the empire, because I believe that's just off looks alone, they'd be cool. Now, when Trench Crusade is taking place, like the era, Myanmar would be the Pagan Empire, and I feel like they should keep it as the Pagan Empire, just because, look at this, it's beautiful. I'd love to see this in Trench Crusade, in like the actual game, like same with the other one, where they were like selling items for maps. This would be cool. I would love, oh my god, I'm having an experience in my pants just looking at it. Just this alone makes me want it to be in the game. Now this is the end of the video, and I was like originally planning to make it a two-parter, but I thought no one would really like that, and it wouldn't be that interesting to have a two-parter for videos like this, so yeah, I might as well just make the full thing. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy, and next Tuesday I'll either be talking about what I think is going to happen for the Mongolian Empire, or I'm going to be talking about North and South America and what I think is happening to them right now. And that wraps it up. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and remember, it's a good day to have a good day. Bye.